All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast, a game where we talk about indie games every week and review them. Even. That's so crazy. I am one of your hosts, Tommy Fresh, and joined, as always, it is...
Matty Juice. What's going on, everybody? Another episode. I can't believe we're reviewing another game, Tom. When is it going to end? When is it going to end?
It never ends. One must imagine Sisyphus happy, folks, and we are so happy that we keep reviewing games because some are good, some are bad. You know, maybe last week, not so great, but maybe this week, a little bit of a redemption arc for us. We will see. We are reviewing Animal Well. I'm sure many of you have heard of it. If you are into indie games, it has been a big release. We'll see if we enjoyed it. And we're also going to talk about some news and then answer quite a bit of listener questions this week. So it's going to be a good time. But before we do that, what's going on? How's your week been?
Yeah, it hasn't been too bad. We're just finished up Monday. Mondays are always like super tiring for me for whatever reason, but I guess get it out of the way, start of the week. But yeah, over the weekend, went to like a Holy Communion, a double Holy Communion. Look at that. And it was wild. I got to tell you, like, I don't really care too much about this sort of stuff, but this was like the fanciest Holy Communion. They had a dance floor, like a party. They were doing like musical chairs. It was like catered. It was like nuts. It was, the open bar, which was great. So yeah, it was a great time for the kids and the adults, I suppose. And then, yeah, Mother's Day on Sunday,
Oh, yeah.
So did some good stuff there. Had breakfast with the mother-in-law and then had like a late lunch with my mom. So that was a good time. And yeah, we went over to Asbury Park, New Jersey, for those of you who are familiar with the area. Cool little spot there, walking around the beach. They had like a little bazaar going on there, which was cool. Just kind of had like little shops of overpriced things. And yeah, it was a good time. What about you, Tommy? How's everything going?
Oh, it's going. I forgot it was Mother's Day. Oops. But that sounds like a good time. I do love AP. And, bazaars. How bizarre. What was that song? How bizarre. Who sang that? That was a 90s one-hit wonder, I believe.
Yeah. How bizarre.
Bizarre. That's a great tune, but my weekend was busy. My weekend was very busy. Lady Fresh, my fiance, was in a wedding over the weekend. So it was it was on a campground that is also a Renaissance fair. And they had the whole campground for the whole week, and the bride and groom rented it out. So I think it's a nice bargain play. It's also very cool. But we had to be there Friday because of the rehearsal and to help set up because it was kind of a DIY kind of wedding. So the vendors are all pick and choose, and they're all kind of showing up when they show up. So a lot of the other stuff is on them. So we were helping set up on Friday. And we get to our cabin. I posted a picture of it in the Fresh Juice Discord, which everybody should check out, of the cabin that we slept in. It looked straight out of a horror film. Even I think K-More had mentioned Evil Dead, which I do love that series. So thank you for mentioning that. And also, it wasn't terrifying at all. It was cool though. We didn't have a bathroom, which kind of stunk. So we had to walk or drive all the way back to the main cabin, which was actually probably a quarter mile, maybe a half mile away. So it wasn't like an easy walk. And it was kind of raining. That's all right. But within the cabin that we were in, I guess since it's a Renaissance fair, every cabin had a theme. We were in the wizard cabin. There were scrolls all over the place. There was a Cthulhu kind of head on the wall, which was interesting. Yeah. And then there was just spells, different spells you had to learn. And I even opened up, I think, a closet I wasn't supposed to open. I found a phone that had a charger, and I was like, let me charge this. I don't know. I just wanted to see what it was. I charged it, and the only thing on the phone, it didn't have service or anything like that. The only thing on the phone was Spotify. Click on Spotify, and it only had one saved playlist, and it was just a bunch of medieval stuff. So obviously that was used for some kind of vibe, during the Ren Fair that they do, I think, every September. It was all the way in North Jersey, in Sparta. So
Mm.
it was far. It was fun, wedding day. Since I wasn't in the wedding, I didn't really do much. I just went to the gym in the morning and then came back to the cabin and started drinking while waiting for the ceremony to start while Lady Fresh was off doing like bridesmaid stuff. So
Nice.
that was, it was fun. Weddings are fun. I love a good wedding.
Yeah.
And
You guys have been hitting up a lot of weddings lately.
two in a row. Now we have a break until October. Then we have 2 in October and then ours in November. So, it's been, that will be 6 total this year that we'll have been to, which is going to be nuts. So,
damn.
it's that time of our lives, time of year, I was going to say, but it's all year. But, it's something else. Now, I got home yesterday. We kind of just vegged. We just relaxed. I played more Animal Well. And then today, woke up and went to the dentist and I'm ashamed to admit this, the first time since like 2019. So I got kicked off my dad's insurance in like early 2019. And then I was just like, I don't need to go back for a while. But
I'm brushing.
Luckily, I do brush. And, my dentist said I was very lucky that I only had 1 cavity. It's my first ever in 32 years, 1 cavity. Yeah. And I should gamble more or play the lottery or something like that. At least that's what I think he told me. You should go to the casino right now and play blackjack. I was like, okay.
Doctor's orders.
So I had half of my mouth cleaned today, and I get the other half cleaned next week. Hopefully, next week I'll be getting my mouth cleaned at 4. Hopefully, the numbness in my mouth, because they numb it, will be done by the podcast, because like for the first couple hours after the dentist today, I was just like, it was like, I couldn't even use half my face. So, it was, that was not fun. I'm not going to be around the bush, folks. I don't like the dentist. And after next week, it's another 5 years of not going, but I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm kidding.
Renewed.
But, other than that, man, it's been crazy playing games. There's a new Flesh and Blood set coming out, so I'm gearing up for a lot of content to make for that. And
nice.
Yeah, man. But we do have some news. Let's get right into the news. First of all, I mentioned the Fresh Juice Discord, best place to hang out. We've gotten a couple new members this past week, which is awesome. And but other than that, you have been talking about this to me. Questmaster goes into early access on 5/29. Can you tell the world what Questmaster is?
Yes, so I found out about this game on Twitter, and it was actually, I think it's a concept that we talked about in previous episodes, where essentially, think of like old school Zelda, and it's a game builder, a dungeon builder for a game like that. So it has solo and co-op play. You can make dungeons, it says, full of puzzles, traps, and monsters. Upload them for others to explore and challenge yourself with other players' creations. So shout out to King Gathalion, who is a streamer. He actually checked out the demo on his stream. So I watched a little bit of gameplay there. But yeah, it's really what a neat concept, and something. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to download the demo. I haven't had time to check it out and play it. But I'm gonna try it out. It comes out in about 2 weeks, and I'm thinking it could be a lot of fun, maybe to play on like the Fresh Juice Twitch, and just check out what people are making. Maybe some juice heads out there will make some dungeons for us that we got to try to get through. But from what I've heard, the way that these dungeons, or at least the popular community dungeons are, I've heard that they're actually like more interesting and more challenging than like the last few Zelda releases. I know the last few Zelda games have not been kind of top down. Mm-hmm. They're more 3D, but still, I haven't even played it, and I'm inclined to agree, because I feel like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, they didn't have the most complex dungeons. They didn't really have like dungeons as we kind of remember them back in the day for Zelda. So I'm super pumped to check this out, and I think it would be a lot of fun to just play. It has local co-op, unfortunately, so it doesn't look like it has online right now, but maybe they're planning on adding that. It is releasing in early access as well, so there's going to be some updates there. But yeah, Questmaster, it sounds awesome, and I'm super interested in it, so figured I'd throw it in the news here.
Yeah, this is something that like really interesting to me, because I played a ton of Mario Maker back in the day, right? I would even stream it and send me your levels, right? Like I want to play them, and that was like always a ton of fun to do. And I forget what they call it, like the really hard one, like Heizo or something like that, maybe Hanzo. Like they like the people that do like the impossible Mario Maker. So
Oh,
it'd be really
yeah.
cool to see some really intense like kind of Zelda levels here. And I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised that people are putting out like really interesting and complex puzzles. Like you get everybody like, in theory unlimited personnel making levels. You're going to
Yeah.
start seeing some really cool stuff because these people have been playing Zelda games forever. So like oh man, I wish I this game had this or this puzzle had this. So really cool.
Yeah.
Definitely want to check it out myself. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
review it. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be slated for review, but I definitely think it should be something we play just because it
Mm.
just sounds awesome, and we'll see how the builder works and everything. And also, fun fact about Super Mario Maker 2. Bags, those of you, I know you know Bags,
Sure
Tommy,
do.
but listeners, he submitted questions before, childhood buddy of ours that listens to the show as well. And we were walking around the mall one day, and we stumbled upon, it was right basically when Super Mario Maker 2 came out. We were kind of on the fence about getting it. We stumbled upon a $100 bill on the ground, picked it up, and walked right in the GameStop to buy 2 copies of Super Mario Maker 2. Did not play a lot of Super Mario Maker 2 after that, but we did play it, and it was basically, free game. So it was just, yeah. Hopefully that happens more often in the world. Yeah, be nice.
You know what? I'm just for whatever reason, I'm feeling like you didn't find that $100 bill. You sold a blind kid named Petey, or no, I forget what the kid's name was in Dumb and Dumber. You sold a headless bird.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, no comment there. But maybe, who knows? I mean, we did look around to see if anyone had lost. We weren't saying, "Hey, is this your $100 bill?" But we scanned the area, made sure it didn't look like anyone was looking for something. And then we just decided, yeah, I think it's just for us. I think the Nintendo gods heard our thoughts there. You know.
I mean I think that's awesome. I always loved Super Mario Maker. I don't know if I played two though. I just played one a lot of, but yeah, no, that's dope. And the tough thing about
Yeah.
finding money is uh, there's nobody's name. There's a picture on there, I guess. Some old guy. I don't
Yeah.
know who he is, but I
Yeah.
know who it is. That is Barack Obama, and no Benjamin Franklin. I don't know. Is
Yep.
that who's on the 100? That's Benjamin.
Yep.
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 Obviously
Benjamin's
I don't
baby.
I don't have a lot of money. So I don't know what Benjamin Franklin looks like or $100 bill, but that is awesome. I'm excited for Questmaster. That seems like something right up my alley. So yeah, maybe check out the Twitch there.
Yeah.
Now you also put a kind of follow up to something we talked about a few weeks ago. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. So a few weeks ago, we covered that Warner Brothers was delisting all of like the Adult Swim indie games. So they, those developers basically were just, shit out of luck and just had all their games delisted. That was the plan, at least. But now it looks like, I guess, in the spirit of everyone seeming to reverse course on things, like with the Sony Helldivers thing that we covered last week. Warner Brothers is now reversing course on delisting Adult Swim indie games, and the developers will then receive ownership of their games back. So great news all around. Obviously, unfortunately, it does say that some developers have not heard back from Warner Brothers about whether they're going to get their games back or not, but I'm sure that that's hopefully that's coming. But yeah, just a small little story here of like, kind of a little bit of justice, right? A little bit of, this is the right move. You shouldn't delist these indie games. These developers rely on it, for their income, and it just seems like something that should have never really even been kind of should have never been in this situation in the first place. But good to know that Warner Brothers is doing the right thing here. Not really sure where this came from, though. I know obviously with the Sony Helldivers thing, there was a lot of like pushback. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, so I wonder if this is more of like an internal kind of decision. Maybe they, just maybe like a good faith sort of thing, something like that. But regardless, good to know that they're headed this direction.
Yeah, I would imagine, because we talked about it, and I think the initial pop of it was like, oh, like pretty negative, like this sucks. But I have to imagine those developers fought pretty hard to keep them around because they put a lot of time into it. I understand. Now, this is so cool that we're seeing like people walk back, on stuff on video games. I would like to see this just like start happening with like HBO Max, like which is just like we'll take off like animated shows and all these different shows that only they had the rights to, and now nobody could see them, but they took them down because they just don't want to pay the royalties. I think it's a really popular one that I never watched, but I know a lot of people were very passionate about was Over the Garden Wall, which is like an animated, I don't know, miniseries or just a movie, but they took it down and I'm like, now you can't watch it unless you like recorded it. I did watch one guy on TikTok that was like, you get those crazy guys every once in a while. It's like, you worried about losing, your stuff to like HBO and stuff like that? Recorded on VHS. And he's just like, shit, he had all these shows on VHS that he recorded. It's totally legal. You're allowed to VCR stuff like that. So I don't know.
Oh my god, amazing!
And it kind of had like the cool like VHS kind of feel to it. It's like looks like it was from the 90s, 80s, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
in his bunker,
yeah. They're never gonna take Lord of the Rings away from me.
Yeah,
but pretty cool. Good job, Warner Bros. Happy for Adult Swim now.
Yep, absolutely.
Talking about Adult Swim and segues. Sometimes animals swim, and then sometimes you can swim in a well. This time, it's an animal well. That is the game we're talking about this week. It's the main squeeze. It is what we were reviewing, folks. Animal Well is from developer Billy Basso, published by Big Mode, which was founded by video game dunkey and his wife in 2022. I saw that little note there. It is out on Steam, PS5, and Switch, and a limited physical release on limited run games. It is currently $24.99 with 10% off until May 23rd. You should have a whole week to kind of get on that. And really, I mean, the blurb here is explore a dense, interconnected labyrinth and unravel its many secrets, collect items to manipulate your environment in surprising and meaningful ways, encounter beautiful and unsettling creatures as you attempt to survive what lurks in the dark. There is more than what you see, and I think there's a lot more to this game than just that paragraph. This game is pretty vast, I would say. And do you want to start talking about gameplay and what's going on with the Animal Well?
Yeah, absolutely. So this game, in terms of the gameplay, one thing to just before we get into like the specifics, is that what I didn't expect going in, and I really appreciate, is that the game doesn't really tell you anything. It's very much like I actually it reminded me a bit of No Man's Sky. Back when No Man's Sky came out, one of their many they had a lot of wrong things they said in marketing, but one of their things that was pretty accurate in marketing was that a lot of games these days, they do a lot of hand holding, and No Man's Sky just kind of wanted to put you in there and just let you kind of discover things like that sense of discovery. This game does that so well from the gameplay standpoint, where you're in this weird looking world. It's a it's a Metroidvania, but it's a non-combat Metroidvania. You don't have weapons really. You find items throughout the game, such as like a frisbee. You get a kind of a disc. You get a yo-yo. You get a flute. You get a slinky. I'm trying to think of all the things. I don't think I've unlocked all the items yet. I think I have like 2 more left to go.
Yeah.
But what's great about it, and this kind of plays into that discovery part, is that all the puzzles that you have to kind of solve throughout the game, there are multiple ways to solve those puzzles. You could, if you want to figure, oh, there's also a bubble wand. I just got that one. So you can use any of those items you kind of find to try to solve those puzzles. And really, from the gameplay standpoint, what you're trying to do is collect eggs. There are all these chests all over the map that are hidden. You're trying to collect these eggs so that you can then go back to the kind of egg room. There's a room you go to that has all these eggs, and it will keep unlocking more things. So you find 8 eggs, you unlock a new room in that egg room. You find 16 eggs, you unlock another room. So that's really, I think, like the main sort of goal. But again, the game doesn't really tell you much. So that's like, I had to pick up on that as I was playing. I was like, oh, I need to find like these eggs. Like I found the egg room, so it has so many surprises in the gameplay because it doesn't tell you certain things, like the fact that you have this frisbee, this disc, and you can actually ride on it. So you can you can kind of jump on the disc and just kind of move across the level that in order to solve certain things. You can use the bubble wand in combination with the disc. You can give the disc to like dogs. There's like, obviously there's animals in the game. You kind of play as this little sort of blob. Kind of reminds me of oh man, what is it? There's a game that the main character reminds me of, where he's just like a little blob dude. I don't remember exactly what it is. Maybe it was Lone Fungus too. Maybe there was like some enemies in there that kind of look like the little blob. But regardless, yeah. So it's a game. Just, it's your typical Metroidvania where like you're gonna have to go to a certain area. Maybe you don't have that area unlocked yet. You're just gonna have to do a lot of exploring. But what's really works well in this game with the exploration is that there's so many hidden areas and ways to get to those areas through all these different items that you use. So this game overall, from the gameplay standpoint, really impressed me, because at first I was like, all right, like this is a little bit frustrating, because like I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for or what I'm supposed to be doing. And then as you kind of unlock these other items that have these different abilities, the bubble wand helps you, kind of gives you like a little platform you can jump on, so then you can start accessing more and more things. The yo-yo, lets you hit buttons from really far away, and you can swing the yo-yo around different barriers and hit different things with it. The disc kind of has like multi uses. So as you start to unlock those things, you start to be able to unlock more and more parts of the map. And yeah, overall, I mean, just really enjoyed the vibe of the game. There's plenty to talk about in the art department for this game, so I'm going to hold off on that. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling overall, Tommy. Just pretty impressed with the overall gameplay and fluidity of this game. But what about you?
Yeah, and I'm a huge Metroidvania fan, and initially I was like, okay, wow, like I was at first like, whoa, I can go anywhere, right? And then like like you kind of, it leads you a little bit, right? Like there's a squirrel that keeps running away and kind of gives you hints at where you want to go, and and then you realize you'll get to a spot that like you can't get through. Like the first obstacle you run into, and this isn't really a spoiler, is there's like a ghost, right? And he's not going to let you get past. And you're like, well, how do I beat this? All right, I have to go explore something else, right? I got to go back, explore elsewhere. And then you find an item that helps you beat the ghost, right? So that's like your first aha moment. And that one's pretty simple, right? Like, oh yeah, I got to get this. Helps me beat ghosts. And that's how I get through like ghost areas. And then you get like to rooms with like real aha moments. And you're like, because it's not really telling you.
Yeah.
It has to be trial and error. I mean, you have a certain amount of hearts or whatever, but when you die, you just go back to your last save point, and anything you unlock doesn't get unlocked or relocked or whatever. So like you just go back to where you were, and like, okay, that didn't work that time. I'm going to try this, or maybe I have to time it a little bit different or whatever. And there are so many of those moments in this game that are so exciting, because you're just like, oh, okay, I get it. That's so cool. And that's like one of my favorite parts about this game, is that it's constantly rewarding you for exploring and using, like, trying to think critically with these like limited items you have. And I love that part of the game. And then Another part is I love that almost every room has something going on. you know,
Yeah.
and it always feels different. Throughout the different rooms, and there's secrets and there's special passageways where you find more eggs or whatever else, and you're just like, oh man, thank God I found that because this game, and I played probably, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 hours. I don't know how long I played, but I'm
Yeah.
not close to beating it, or at least what I think would be beating it because I backtracked a lot, explored a lot, and I think it's such a vast game for how small of a package it is. And I think that's so cool. Like it just feels like
Yeah.
you're given an open world, basically, right? A 2D open world, and it's not like your traditional Metroidvania where you're gonna unlock skills. You just unlock items, and then you, the player, learns to use the items better, right?
Yep.
Which is you are the character here, right? Like when you first get the bubble wand, right? You're like, this is hard to use, but then you start using the bubble wand more, and you're like, oh, I could do this with this, or I could do that, and you're just like, oh, maybe I can, and then you start trying some crazy stuff, like if I press jump and bubble at the same time, maybe I can start doing
Yeah.
some kind of thing up to the top of the room or whatever. And it was just such a fun experience, and I honestly can't wait to hop back on and keep playing, right? And
Yep.
I played on Switch, so it's just like a relaxing, pop it on the TV and just relax and play some Animal Well, try to figure out this stuff. And then it also gives you a nice little thing because the map is huge. It never feels like you're backtracking, really. It just feels like you're re-exploring. And I think that's really important to why this game, from a gameplay perspective, is super successful. And then on the map you have stamps. You get your stamp thing, and then you can stamp things to be like, okay, this is where this is. If I remember, this symbol, because you get a bunch of different symbols, and I would even if you're really into this, kind of you want to really get into the nitty gritty, right? Have a notebook with Animal Well. I think it actually would enhance the experience. So you're
Yeah.
just like, oh man, all right, the heart symbol is where I think this is, or whatever. Or I can't solve this puzzle yet. Let me put a symbol on the map so I can return to it when I think that I have something. So it's kind of a long-winded say the gameplay is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Super simple too. There's only a few buttons, just jump and use the item and open up map. That's really it. So it's just
Yeah.
it was just a pleasant experience, honestly.
Yeah. Now, do you know? Because obviously, I just played solo, but in terms of the order that you unlock the items that you use, what was the order for you? Do you remember?
Yeah, um I got the firecrackers, and if this is a spoiler for anybody, I mean, you don't really, this doesn't really spoil the puzzles and stuff. Firecracker, Slinky, disc, and then the bubble wand. I didn't
Okay.
find the yo-yo yet, and I don't know what the other thing is,
The
but
flute.
the flute. I
Yeah.
haven't found the flute, but also the only kind of setup, and this will kind of get to the story part, but there's also these flames that you're trying to go find as well. I think there's 4 of them on the map, and I think they're kind of all spread out evenly, but the map is freaking huge. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the gameplay. But we'll get into the
Yeah.
story now. It's not much of a story, right? Like we said, this is kind of wanting you to just explore and figure things out. You start the game, you see these 4 flames. They spread out, and you'll see them on the map when you finally unlock the map. Your little blob kind of hatches out of a fruit, so maybe we're a seed or something like that. And then you're just in this world, right? Where these
Yeah.
kind of spooky looking animals are and stuff like that. And that's really the only story you see. You get some kind of characterization with some of the animals, like the dogs act a certain way, the crows act a certain way. The crows are terrifying. And then, but that's it. You're kind of just set there to explore this world and kind of experience the personalities of the animals that are in there that are all like doing like really unique stuff, whether it's just looking cool or
Yeah.
actually doing stuff that's functional with your, kind of journey. So that's what I got from the
Yeah.
story. There's not a lot of story. It's really just you're in this place, explore it.
Yeah, no, exactly. It seems like also like the animals are like not super psyched that you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're either hiding from you or like squawking at you or hurting you. But yeah, it's yeah, definitely no real story. I'm thinking that maybe there's like something at the end that kind of maybe explains certain things, but who knows? I mean, honestly, a game like this I don't even think really needs a story. It's just so interesting, and I think it's purposely like it purposely doesn't have a story because that also adds to, like the discovery of certain things. Like you were mentioning, like the order that you got those items. I got my items in a totally different order
It's crazy,
than
right?
you.
Yeah.
So like that kind of like builds a story in itself, you know, where like the journey is the story, right? Like the individual player journey. So yeah, nothing really crazy here, but um, the art though, Tom.
Oh my god.
Oh my God! I mean, do you want to tell me your thoughts on the art?
Oh, well, first of all, I think this, oh God, if this is not the most beautiful game I played like this year or maybe like in a very, very long time, like I don't know what else would be close to this. I was in love with this art style. Pixel art, right? But beautiful, like dark textures. You feel like you're in this like dark world that like doesn't feel evil. It feels like cool and calm and like almost like you're the only disturbance here, right? Which I think
Yeah,
is so cool. And then you get the really neat movement. I mean, there's just so much here that it just the way you interact with the world is so well thought out and just awesome. Like you go past the vines and the vines are kind of moving and have like sweet movement and it all makes sense. And the droplets coming down and then like when you go deep into the well and you see these like kind of like I don't know like crystals or kind of snowy kind of things like floating around and then the bubbles and stuff like that, the way things interact with each other is so cool. And just like
yeah,
the movement first of all is so fluid and just like it just feels fun to just move around, which I think is like a great sign of like really well thought out art design. And I don't know, it just they do some really cool texture stuff like with smoke, right? Like the smoke almost
oh
feels
yeah,
real. Like that feels real, like within the world, but also to you. You're like, that like looks really neat. Like when you throw a firecracker, it's so cool. And
yeah,
and then like the animal design, is a nice contrast to your character design, with just a blob, as we said. But you see, like like a really like kind of spooky looking chameleon, and it's not like super realistic, but it's realistic enough in this world that you're like, I mean, that's a chameleon, all right. And then there's these crows that are like kind of terrifying. Like if you hit a wrong button, these crows will they'll fucking kill you, So like you got to be careful, and you know, and then there's like really neat things with like the kind of spirit stuff, like the ghosts, like are very creepy and like obviously dangerous to you. You can't like hit them. And then there's a point when you know you pick up an item and an evil spirit dog starts following you, and you're like, how do I get rid of this thing? And like that was just so cool. And I don't know, man. I this is such a beautiful game. It really is. Like it's like the nice neon colors on the black background. Almost feels like a oh man, with the bright no. I'll think about it. It was an old toy from like the
light
90s.
bright.
Light bright. Yeah, yeah. It kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
reminds me
yeah,
of that, which is like kind of cool. So now, I
yeah.
mean, now what do you think? So I disagree. No.
Yeah, no, this is like the worst looking game I think I've ever. No, it's yeah, it's amazing. It's kind of got like this like bioluminescent like cave sort of feel to it, right? Where like there's a lot of darkness and there's a lot of vibrant colors at the same time. And then yeah, just as far as just the items that you use have like their own kind of personality, even just from the art standpoint. And I gotta say, like, I know you haven't gotten the flute yet. The flute is one of the coolest things from like an art standpoint, and also sound. Obviously,
Hmm.
I won't get into like what specifically it does, but it's that is like one of the coolest things that I've just had a lot of fun playing with. But yeah, the art is just so strong in this game, and it's really something that like at first you know, I wasn't 100% sure like what how I was feeling about it because clearly there's a lot of secrets in the game, right? There's these secret passages, all that sort of stuff, and I was kind of feeling like, okay, well, like I know there's secret passages, but like they're really hard to find with like the way the art is in this game. Like I just don't know like do I have to literally check every single corner of every single room and just make sure that there's no there's no secret passage there. And then what I actually did, which I think for me at least, I appreciate the artistic style that the scan lines have on the game, but there's actually an option in the settings to turn that off. So I turned it off and I actually found the game to like look even better with the scan lines off. And the reason I pretty much turned them off was because when you open up the map, you get a map in the game it's pretty limited. Like you said, it's got like the stamps, and then you kind of have like a zoom, but it's only like you can just zoom in and zoom out once, and that's pretty much it. And the reason I turned the scan lines off is because I was reading some articles about like how to read the map, basically. There are locked doors, for example, are a certain color little kind of line on the map. It's all pixel art on the map, so you're not getting like a ton of detail, really. But when you turn the scan lines off, it just makes the map like so much easier to read.
Mm.
So I'm glad they gave you that option because that's helped me a lot, like figuring out, okay, where do I need to go? Or where are these locked doors here? Where are these enemies? It just makes it like so much easier to read overall. And if I had to say like one thing that I do wish the game had from the art standpoint is like give me like a little bit of a legend on the map of just like I know the game's all about discovery, but like, let me know that the locked doors are this color, or
Hmm.
let me, it doesn't need to give me everything, but at least like certain things, maybe just let me know that this color is associated with this sort of thing. Because for a bit there, I was just kind of running around like aimlessly, and then I'm like, all right, let me take a look at the map and let me Google like what should I be looking for on this thing? And someone suggested to turn the scan lines off, and I did that. Looked way better, but regardless, it's just this game feels like a breath of fresh air in the art department. I feel like we play good amount of Metroidvanias that are like super vibrant, bright kind of atmospheres. This is like the totally the opposite of it. And yeah, honestly, this feels like a game that like would be on like the Game Boy Advance or like the Game Boy SP. Like I could just see it like being ported there and just like
Yeah.
it feels so retro and new at the same time. I just like everything about this game from the art side is just amazing. And then I agree, kind of like when you throw the firecrackers, it's like a rave is going on.
Yeah.
When the firecrackers are going off. And that's another thing too about this game is that like the way they use light and darkness is so interesting because there's certain rooms, a lot of the rooms actually like have enough light for you to be able to see what's going on, but there are some rooms you go into that are just like completely dark. And you can use some of the items that you have, like you can use a firecracker, you can even use like the yo-yo or like the flute. They kind of light up a little bit around you so you can kind of get an idea what's around you. But what's really interesting is that like if the room is too dark, you can't actually look at the map. And I
Yeah.
think that's a really cool kind of mechanic where like before I would enter a certain room, I'd be like, all right, let me look at the map and see where exactly do I have to go. Oh, when I get in that dark room, I have to try to make my way up to the top right, and then that's where I want to go. So I just like those little small details there are it's something they didn't really have to do, right? Like from the art side, like you could just open the map in the dark there. But I appreciate that they did it because it adds a little bit more complexity to like your planning. But yeah, overall, I mean, the art's killer, and probably my favorite part of the whole thing is, like you said, it's like those what is it, like the vines that are hanging down
Oh
there, and
yeah.
you just get to like push them like left and right, and like even when you throw the disc at them, they just like stop the disc, but like just everything with the physics with them just looks so good. Yeah, it's just awesome. I want like a desktop wallpaper for this game that's just like
Oh
animated. That's what I really
yeah.
want, you know. But yeah, the art is fantastic in this game. It's so unique too. Like if I saw a poster for this game without the title or anything, I'd be like, oh, that's Animal Well. Like
Yeah.
hands down, that's Animal Well. So super cool stuff here. And yeah, just love the art overall. I also think the sounds are pretty strong. Element in this game as well, Tommy. What are you thinking about the sound?
Yeah, this is another game. We played another one not too long ago that uses sometimes the quietness to its advantage, right? You know, you feel like you're in a cave. It gives you this kind of nice ambient sound of being in a cave. We got a little bit of a dungeon minesweeper, but that seemed like a little bit of bugginess going on.
Yeah.
But this is like all purposeful, and just like the sound effects of you just kind of hopping around and like finding these things, seeing little hedgehogs run around and making these like kind of cute little noises is so cool. And then, these squawking birds, these stupid, freaking crows. I hated them. And then, the chameleon, when he sticks out his tongue, like he has this like really unique sound effect going on with it. And then you get like some, like when you're in a more intense situation, the music matches it, right? You're like, oh, this is actually kind of getting my blood rushing a little bit, right? And then, you also get to a point where it's just a little bit cooler and calmer, and it makes sense where you are. And it has this, it's not like these like really intense like melodies or anything like that, but like it just nails like an ambient sound that like matches whatever's going on, right? When that spirit dog is chasing you, it has this sound that not only is super anxiety kind of driving ambience to it, but it also will fade out as you get further away from it, and then it kind of gets louder as it gets close to you. So like, there's a lot like the art direction and seemingly everything else in this game. Everything is purposeful and not just done to like, oh, we need some music playing in this level or whatever, this room. No, it is ingrained within like the kind of DNA of this game, and I think it's great. It's not a game where I'm gonna be listening to like the soundtrack, right? I don't think it's really that kind of game, but it nails everything else. It brings it all together, and it makes you feel like you're experiencing it as you are that little blob. So,
Yeah. No, go ahead. Yeah,
no,
you
no,
got
that's
Oh,
it,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think, like you said, like the game knows when to like ramp things up in the sound department. And one of the things that like always gets me is like when you enter a room and there's a ghost in there and it's just like, and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like it just goes from like 0 to 100. And you're like, I got to take the firecracker out. And then you throw that firecracker sounds awesome. And yeah, just that's always something that really does get me. But yeah, as far as the sound goes, like really just enjoyed like the whole overall ambience. Like you said, it's not really a game where you're gonna be like looking this up the soundtrack on Spotify. At least I won't be. And honestly, I think if I heard this soundtrack without knowing what game it was from, I wouldn't really probably be able to identify it was from Animal Well unless like one of those moments happened, like with the ghost or maybe with like one of the animals, something like that. But it does its job. Like it absolutely is like, there's never been a moment in this game where I'm like, man, that was a really weird audio choice. Like, it all fits perfectly into the game. Even like the cat things. There's like cats that like can chase you and they scare the hell out of you. Like that is it was terrifying. Like this game can scare the hell out of you. Like you said with the crows, with the ghosts, like I said, it goes from 0 to 100. And yeah, I mean, I don't have too many more notes on like the sound for the game. I think it just works really, really well. The way the waterfall sound, all that sort of stuff. and I'm looking forward to like you getting the flute as well,
Yeah.
because the flute, like even just the way you play the flute is like so cool and just like a lot of fun, and it just sounds really great. I'm sure people are like using this to like come up with really clever kind of little tunes that they've come up with. But yeah, overall, I mean, the sound for the game is just it's just great. It fits perfectly, and definitely no issues on my end with the sound.
Yeah, and no issues on
Yeah.
my end with performance. I was playing on Switch docked, but other than that, it was just it ran totally fine. I wouldn't expect it to really have any issues. Yourself?
No, yeah, no issues whatsoever. I played this on Steam, and then I've been using my Steam Link quite a lot. Just because I like playing some of these games on the TV downstairs, so had no issues playing on that either. I'm not sure if it's Steam Deck compatible, but if I had a Steam Deck, I'd let everybody know if it was. But yeah, it's definitely a game that's been well optimized, and I could even see this having like a mobile port at some point. Plenty of games have done it that require a little bit more power. So yeah, it's running well for me.
Amen, amen. Now,
Yeah.
this brings us to our final rating of the game, which the ratings are and will remain to be. It's S tier is your certified fresh juice, followed by A tier is like Esteel, B tier get on sale, C tier manager's special, and then finally D tier is spoiled milk, all grocery themed. And Matthew, what is your rating for Animal Well?
So I am giving this a certified fresh juice. I just think this game, really, I did not think I was going to give it this score. Like in the beginning, I was like, all right, video game donkey, he's a big YouTuber. It just there's a lot of hype around a game like this, right? And I just always feel like it falls short. This game like exceeded my expectations. I'm so excited to play more of it. I hope they do expansions of it. I want Animal Well too. Like I just everything about this game really just it just checks off all the boxes for me. So I'm giving it a certified fresh juice. What about you?
I am also giving it a certified fresh juice, and
Oh,
a double certified fresh juice, yet another. It's been a good year. It's been a good year,
oh
but
yeah.
this is a game I remember playing at PAX like 3 years ago or something like that, maybe 2 years ago, and I was like, oh wow, this is gonna just be like a relaxing game, right? And that's just all I took from it. I was like, it's very good looking. Like I really love the art. I'll be excited to play this. I don't expect much from it. I just thought it was gonna be like, oh, here's just like a chill time. Like it's a little platformer. Like it felt when I played the demo that maybe it was gonna be more like here's like a chilled out vibing Celeste where the platforming is not as intense, but you get to kind of be in this really cool world. And then I played this full release and I was like, wow, there's so much more to this than that. And it's vast, and I feel like I still haven't even really scratched the surface. I mean, it is a game that I want to collect all those eggs, right? That seems like an awesome kind of goal, like a nice 100% kind of game, and kind of,
Yep.
check off all the boxes. So, certified fresh juice for Animal Animal well done, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
But
there we go.
that is our final rating, and we should say our best game of April, which we didn't mention last week on the show. I remembered at the end, but I think in terms of games we reviewed, this one didn't come out in April, but we reviewed it in April. It was Pepper Grinder. I think Pepper Grinder is probably my best game of April.
Yeah, I'm going with Pepper Grinder as well. It was between that and No Rest for the Wicked, and Pepper Grinder. I just felt like I don't know, just made me feel good playing it. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like I was getting beat up like in No Rest for the Wicked. Yeah, definitely Pepper Grinder is best April game, and who knows? Animal Well could be the best May game.
Off
It
to a
may.
hot start. It may be. It may well be. Yeah, but next week we're going to be reviewing a game called Archaeo Gem. which I think is another Metroidvania. So we're on a Metroidvania kick. I'll be
Yeah.
excited to talk about that
Indiana
one.
Jones.
Indiana Jones
Themed.
kind of themed, which
Yeah.
some of my favorite movies, folks. If you ever looking to buy me a box of chocolates that look like Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
now you know.
Especially Crystal Skull.
Crystal Skull,
Uh,
yeah. More like crystal meth. I don't know. Just kidding, guys. Um, now, we do have some listener questions, which you can submit on the Fresh Juice Discord, or if you live with me, as always. We have 2 questions from Capolo. First one saying, after 33 episodes, any changes you would make to the game's grading scale names? My useless opinion, besides the 2 extremes, the rest feel very price-based. Correct, Capolo. They are very price-based because that was the idea. Grocery kind of shopping things. Spoiled milk, fresh juice, obviously great things and bad things you get at a grocery store. And everything else we kind of it's the extremes are always gonna be no-brainer or 2 versions of no-brainer, right? Like you don't want to buy spoiled milk, you do want to buy fresh juice. The rest might be price dependent, right? So that's how I land on it. But feel free to submit some kind of suggestions.
Yeah, and also, I do know, maybe something we try to do more of, but I know we've done in the past of like, this is like a very high on sale, right? Or a very low steal, things like that, where it's just like you kind of know it's like on the border of two. But yeah, definitely. I mean, price is always a consideration, a factor, because we're not getting all these games for free. Like we bought Animal Well, so we gotta, talk about like, the value that we think we're getting out of it, and then, we don't want you guys to kind of waste your money, right? Like on a game that you might not like. So it definitely goes into like the kind of the grading scale there. And I mean, I think last week's episode of Dungeon Minesweeper and what we were kind of talking about, in the Discord a bit there, it's like a perfect example of like, maybe saving some people some money if like it doesn't our review like helped them out and made them decide not to get that game in particular. But but definitely a good question though, Capolo, and we always appreciate maybe ask this again on episode 40. Maybe we'll have a different answer. The more episodes we
Maybe.
do, the more we learn. So definitely a good question there.
And for context, so when we kind of came up with that rating system, I was looking, I used to listen to spill.com and now it's doubletoasted.com, and they talk about movies mostly, right? I think they do video games as well sometimes, but I only ever listen for their movie reviews, right? And their rating system is also kind of the same. They have 2 extremes, and then everything else is based on your price you would pay to go see the movie. So you got your full price, you got your matinee, you got your rental, right? And then the worst kind of the movies that you don't want to see is some old bullshit. And then the best one is better than sex. So like, you kind of get some 2 extremes, and then you get like the real stuff going on in the middle. So,
Yeah.
which
I think we need to rename certified fresh juice then to better than sex. So
better
Animal
than
Well.
certified sex. I don't know.
fresh sex.
Fresh sex. Okay. Next question also comes from Capolo, who asked, there have been many simulator games. What simulator game would you love to play, existing or non-existing?
This is a good one. What simulator game? I haven't played a lot of simulator games unless you count like some survival games or like walking simulators, people say. As far as a good simulator game, I don't know, could be cool to like maybe have like a submarine simulator game. I know there's Subnautica, obviously, but I think that's like less of a simulator, kind of like a farming simulator or truck simulator. It could be cool to have like a submarine simulator game. You go like into the abyss, you go into the wherever the megalodon is in the Meg, whatever that's called. Maybe you got some fantasy stuff there, Atlantis, all that sort of stuff. That could be pretty cool just to kind of have like a little bit of a fantasy submarine simulator game. But just off the top of my head, that's what I'm thinking. What about you?
Yeah, I never really got into a lot of the simulator games, but I think, I don't know, something, it'd be kind of funny to do an email simulator game. You pretend to work like somebody who sends emails. Now, Ooh, God, I do like the submarine idea. Like, even if it was just like the kind of whatever, like the sea divers, not really a submarine. It was like you get to
Yeah.
go down and look at Titanic and other shipwrecks and
Yeah,
stuff like
Cuba
that.
Gooding in
Yeah,
Crimson Tide.
yeah.
If you know, if you remember that movie,
I don't actually don't.
he's like the
Radio?
scuba diver guy. Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
goes down. He gets like there's like a freaking like I don't know German submarine that like comes up to him with the propeller. He's like freaking out. He gets up. He's in court. You got like I think it's like Jack Nicholson's yelling at him, I think, or Robert De Niro, one or the other. I always confuse the two. He says, "Drop and give me 12, Cookie." All right, that's the movie.
Yeah.
Crimson Tide. Look it up. Good movie. Good movie.
But thanks for the questions, Capullo. Bags asks, favorite gaming snack?
Favorite gaming snack. So let's see. I mean, it's evolved over the years. It used to be like Cheez-Its, but like I shouldn't be having Cheez-Its quite a bit. I think nowadays it's probably just like getting some pretzels, maybe, or like even like some grapes. I'm always down for like some grapes while I'm gaming. See, Tommy's loading something up here. He's already got his snack ready to go. What is it? What is it?
I got these Utz specials right next to my desk at all times.
There we go.
It's just nothing hits like a good pretzel, man.
Yeah, also it doesn't get stuff on your fingers, so like
Yeah.
if you had like a, Cheetos or something, you're getting it all over the place. But pretzels are pretty clean. It's a pretty clean snack.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
will say, like, if I'm ballatroing or whatever, or just like jamming on the Switch, I'll be out on the couch and I'll rip into like some just like tortilla chips and hummus. I love hummus, so I'm
Yeah.
always jamming the old hummus. But thank you, Bags, for the question. Kmore asks, "What's the pooping in the backyard story that Juice Man sometimes tells?"
Oh, okay. So that's I mean, I've told it before on stream and also I think on another podcast I was on, but basically it was like years ago. I had to go to the bathroom behind like well, for those of you who don't know, like Tommy grew up in the house that I also grew up in. He moved out, I moved in. And there was a story that Tommy had also pooped in the backyard in some area for whatever. No one knows the reason, I suppose. And then also, there wasn't really a good reason I did it other than like I had to go and I didn't feel like walking home. And then there was I was with my friends, went to go drop the load there, and my like dad pulled up like as it was kind of happening. And all I remember hearing was he was asking my friends, "Where's Matt?" And they just kind of like pointed over like towards the trees, and he was not happy about it. But yeah, that was pretty much. I mean, I was fertilizing the ground, I guess, so it's not the worst thing to do. But it was like I don't know, maybe I was like 10 or something. Like I don't even remember how old I was. It was years ago. All right, I don't do it anymore that often.
That Austin. Hey, listen, those
Yeah.
trees have never been healthier. All right, the
Still
combination of
standing.
actually, I do remember the time I did it, which,
Yeah.
to be fair, I was like maybe second grade, which has to be younger than 9, right? I think. I don't know.
I mean, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Were you held back at all? No.
no, I maybe should have been, but thanks for the question, Kmore. It's a great story. Now everybody knows, and keep
Yep.
keep it to yourselves or share it everywhere on the internet. And then our carp asked, because we were reviewing Animal Well, do you have a funny pet story?
Let me see. There, one of them, top of my head, is it wasn't my pet, but my wife's dog, Butter. He was a very like not around anymore, unfortunately, but he was like a very uh, he had anxiety. He was like nervous all the time. He just like freaked out a lot. And one of these days, he was he was just at his house, obviously, and he went over to the like the food dish, and they were collars inside the house, him and his brother. And he was just like getting some food, and then he like lifted his head up, and his collar had gotten caught on like the entire thing that held the food dishes together, and he just freaked out and ran all around the house with like food and water going everywhere, and they were trying to chase him to get like the the food thing off of him because he was just losing his shit. Like anything that's like if you just knew him, he just like he would have that look on his face, like oh, like he's about to snap, like he just got the zoomies, you know. So yeah, that's one I can think of off the top of my head. My current pet is a turtle, so not a lot of funny stories when it comes to a turtle, because they don't do a lot. But there we go. There's one with a dog. What about you, Tom?
Um, so oh God, I had a dog for a hot minute. He was awesome. But I can't remember any like funny stuff. Like he was just like a naturally cute, funny little pup. But I did so back in my previous life. I had adopted a cat, and then that cat unfortunately ran away. And then I thought it was like, oh, and that cat was so cool. It was like super friendly. I would punch my dog every once in a while, but like it was like cool with us. And then I was like, oh, that sucks that cat ran away. So like maybe I'll adopt another cat. So I adopted this cat. It seemed nice at the SPCA and friendly. I called her Barbara, a very nice cat, and she
Great name.
was not like she was skittish. She was scared of everything, whatever. It was very sad. I got her to a good point where she would like come up to me and like, whatever. But then like she would get scared of something. It didn't matter what. And she would run down to the basement. And one time I was like, God, I got to get this cat out of the basement because like it needs to eat and use the litter box and stuff like that. Right. So I'm like down there. I'm like, Barbara, Barbara, Barbara. And then I'm like, God, I can't freaking find this cat. It's like it's not that big of a basement. And I look up, and Barbara's in the rafters like this, like freaking Spider-Man. And I was like, holy shit! And I was like, I gotta get you down. And that was a tall order. I was trying to get that cat down for like an hour, and like with no small amount of scratches on my arms. It was pretty wild. That was a wild cat.
Barbara.
So yeah, that's the story. But thank you for the question, Arcarb. You're the best. Now that means it's time for the end of the show, which means we're also going to recommend something in the rec room, where we recommend something that perhaps isn't an indie game. And I'll start it off. The new Kings of Leon album just came out. Can we please have fun? I've been enjoying the hell out of it. It's got some freaking fun stuff going on. Obviously, they want to have fun. That's why they're asking it. And some bangers on there. Big fan of Rainbow Ball. And then all the singles were great. And then Nowhere to Run, I think, is the name of the another one that I've been bopping to. So it's a solid album from Kings of Leon. They've been so consistent since I've been listening to them. I know. Yeah. Sometimes they get a little arena rocky, and then like people remember the old indie sleaze kind of southern rock that they used to be. This new album has a nice combination of I think a lot of their eras. So it's been a fun one to listen to. What do you have to recommend?
And you've been recommending some. Is that some of the singles from this album? Because in the previous rec rooms, gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Always like some Kings of Leon. Ponce de Leon. I don't know why I always think of that with them, but anyway, my rec room. All right, I couldn't think of anything. All right, so this is my rec room from now until the end of May. Tesla is the Tesla Model Y has 0.99% APR financing. Okay, that is amazing. All right, because interest rates right now for car loans are like 6 to 7%. Okay, so it's at 0.99% APR financing, and apparently this is just going to be the beginning of the cuts that they have for their EVs. But it's awesome. It's actually kind of gotten my wife like into the conversation of like, oh, maybe like she can get a Tesla at some point, or at least the Model Y. But anyway, I couldn't think of anything. And honestly, it is a really awesome thing that they're doing. I hope that they do it again because, as we know, everything is expensive as hell these days. And honestly, it makes like the Model Y like it's like $300 a month, basically. Because there's also a federal tax credit, $7,500 you get off. So it's a good time to get a Tesla Model Y if you're interested. I have a Tesla Model 3. I got it in 2020. I love it. But it's even got me considering like, oh, should I trade in my car and get like a new Model Y because it's actually lower payments than what I'm paying right now? Maybe, but who knows? But anyway, that's my little commercial. I felt like I was like a marketing person for Tesla right there, or like a commercial, doing like a Toyota commercial.
Now it's time to speed up. The terms and conditions comply.
Yeah.
That is going to do it for the show, though, folks. You can continue to find me on Twitter at FreshBudsPod. I have another podcast called Fresh and Buds where I talk about the indie card game Flesh and Blood, not Bud. Man, that's confusing. Why would I do that to myself? And then you can follow all of our socials at Fresh Juice Pod. And Matthew, where can people find you?
At Matty Gorm, Gorm, on all the socials. I'll be streaming this week, playing some Once Human. We got about 2 weeks left of the beta, and I have some beta keys to give away as well. They developers were kind enough to give the creators some extra beta keys. So if you're interested in that game at all, hop into my stream. I'm giving away like 15 keys I have to give away. So yeah, check me out over there. But yeah, on all the socials at Matty Gorm if you would like to follow outside the show.
And if you don't want to watch Matt's stream, you can watch my stream. I'll be streaming Twice Giraffe. Thank you, everybody. Fresh Juice Heads. Whee!